Hi everyone, welcome back to Beadaholique. We are talking all about chain. I'm Kat Sylvia and I'm joined today by Alexandra Smith. This is going to be a really fun class.
Yeah.
We wanted to talk about just chain and different ways to use it, maybe some unique ways that you maybe not have thought of yet. So we are going to be doing a whole class. We've got some great projects here for you. So before we get started, why don't you come on in and take a look at everything that we have on our table here. We definitely have a lot and it is very metal. So we have a lot of different kind of styles of chain here. We have some bar chain that we're going to be talking about, some different charm chain. It's going to be really great. We have some fishbone chain, lots of different styles, cup chain. We have some beautiful little links and stuff. So we're going to be kind of talking about maybe how to break that apart, how to use it in some different designs, and really just showcasing all the different types of chain that we have here at Beadaholique.com. Now, of course, you can shop from Beadaholique.com. We have all kinds of chain, and what's great is we have a whole chain section that you can actually filter by on our brand new website. So it's really easy to find exactly what you're looking for. So if, let's say you're looking for charm chain, or finish chain, or gold chain, or curb chain, you can filter by that, and it'll bring you right down to the selection that you're looking for. So it's really fun, actually.
Yes, it works very well. So what do you have over there, Kat?
Well, welcome back if you have joined us before. If you're new to us, I want to let you know that we do a giveaway every live class. So this is our giveaway here for today. So we have a lot of fun things happening. We have some cup chain, we have some scalloped bar chain, which we're going to show you how we can use that in different designs. We also have some beaded chain here, and this is from Zola Elements, really, really beautiful. And then we also have some matte gold bubble chain here, which I think is really fun. Now this silver over here, this is one of our designer blends, so you'll get 3 different styles of chain all together, and you can use them in the same design or you can use them in different designs. So you'll get 3 feet of each of those chains. That's why I couldn't string them out here. And then, you know, 'tis the season, I wanted to give some little charm chain. These are little skulls. So cute, so you can leave them on the chain or break them apart. We're going to be talking about that. And another thing that people don't realize with chain is that you can actually use chain extenders. And those are going to be really great for necklaces and bracelets. So we're going to be talking about how to use chain extenders as well. So this is our giveaway. We do have one last thing that we're giving you guys, and we are so excited to be presenting the Beadaholique bead mat. Now we're going to be using these throughout the class, so you'll get to see these in action, but it's really wonderful. It has that nice little guide up at the top and that ruler down there at the bottom. And of course, to remind you where you got your beautiful bead mat, we have Beadaholique.com at the bottom there. So this is going to be our giveaway for you today. So all you need to do is just leave a comment. Let us know where you're tuning in from, what's your favorite type of chain, what's your favorite color, and just let us know what that is. And we will be here. We have Brian behind the camera to ask and answer any questions that you guys have. So let's go ahead and dive in. What do you say?
Very nice.
All right.
All right.
So I'm going to be working and starting today with some snake chain. So this is a really fun thing to work with. This is really great snake chain here. And I am going to, let me put one of these on so you can just sort of see how it works. Now I'm going to be doing an adjustable slider bracelet, so let me just sort of slip this over my wrist. Now this one, as you can see, I have fun little tassels happening here. So I'm just going to pull that.
The tassel's very handy for gripping.
Yes, good for gripping. So you can tighten that so you get a nice little delicate chain happening. And some nice little tassels there at the bottom.
Oh, that's really pretty.
So isn't that really pretty?
Yeah,
I love that. And this one is actually the white and gold version here that you can see on my wrist. But today, for my little demonstration, I'm going to be using the turquoise one. So here's how it works. So we have these little adjustable slider beads, and if you look real close, you can see that there's that little silicone sort of core to the inside, so that hole is really nice and tight. So what it's going to do is it's going to allow that to crisscross through there and really keep that nice and snug. So this is not going anywhere. You can really, really tug on that and it's not going to wear out, which is great. So let's talk about how you use that. So first things first, is you take one end of your snake chain and you just feed it through, just like so, going through one way. And then you take the other end and you're going to feed it through going the opposite way. Now here's a little tip. Go ahead and slide this up a little further than you think you're going to need it, because what can happen is you can actually use the second chain to help guide it through as you push that chain through there.
Now, are there various sizes of this that fit the various sizes of chain?
Yes, you can actually see, there we go. And beautiful. Yes, you can actually see a little bit on my desk here. I have some other examples, and this uses some other little chains here. So there's a couple little different styles. So there's a single core there, so you can just do one strand through. And then there's also this big one here where you can do that crisscross. So we do have this in silver plate, gold plate, sterling silver. So these are really wonderful to use. All right, so here's what I'm gonna do next. So I'm gonna leave this as is, and just sort of, as you size it, all you need to do is just make sure that it's gonna fit over your wrist, and then kind of tighten it as much as you want there so that it fits over basically your knuckles there. So that's a good size for me. So next what I'm gonna do is come in with my flush cutters, and I'm gonna cut off maybe about 1/4 inch down there on both of my little chains. So just snipping that.
So you're not leaving much room at all. This will be a different design than the one you're wearing.
Well, so you're gonna see what's gonna happen is when you clip that off, because this is as big as you wanna get it, you can then take these little guys and kind of pull it through there on both sides so that when you're wearing it, these are the sides that are dangling down. So your wrist fits in here, and these are your little dangles. Okay. Now, in order to finish off the little bottom piece here, what we recommend is we have these little tubes. Now you can see that I've used a little jump ring to attach a little Swarovski crystal in this case. So I'm gonna quickly do that for another one. And here's why I recommend doing this first, because you want to let it dry. So this will actually allow you to complete your design before you actually do any gluing. So I'm gonna slide that on there and slide my little guy on there. So this is a really teensy tiny jump ring, but I wanted it to be a really delicate look there. So that's why it is very tiny. Oops. And here's a little tip. Go ahead, and I'm gonna switch my tools here because I need my bent nose to keep out of the way on this side.
Yeah, I've been finding the bent nose to be very handy.
Because now I can come in this way and sort of get that little tip there. There we go. And just close that guy up. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is just add a little bit of glue to each of these ends. Now for this, I recommend the E6000. It's gonna be a really nice glue. It's great with chain. So I have a little Post-it note just to protect my work surface there. And I'm just gonna puncture that with the tip. And we're gonna get just a little bit of glue. You don't need a lot. And go ahead and just take a little toothpick and get it on the ends there. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna dip that into the little core there. Now don't worry if you get a little extra on the sides. The great thing about E6000 is it will actually sort of wipe off really easily in your fingers. So don't worry about that.
A little bit like rubber cement.
Exactly, it's very similar to a rubber cement. All right, so that's one. And let's do the second one here. Just kind of getting that glue down in there in that little core. And now I'm gonna slip this one on. So now my design is finished. So I can let that sit and dry now, because otherwise you'd have to let that dry and then do your jump rings. I mean, which, you know, is fine as well, but that's just a nice little way to sort of finish it off so you know exactly what it looks like to see, oh, do I want to add tassels or anything like that? Now you can add little charms, lots of fun things there. You can see on this example here, we have that little skull chain charm, and I actually added the little charms here up at the top. And you can also separate it and use a little setting in between there if you want to bring that crystal in, or you can add a charm, or like excuse me, what I have here is a little infinity. So that's another style. Now this one is that single style, so you can see that that chain is attached right here, and you can just pull it through on that one side there. So there you have that. Now this is a last little thing, and I've actually shown this in a live class before, but this is one of those adjustable chain necklaces that already comes pre-done, which is really kind of neat. So you can actually take this and slide that through just by pressing down on that little button right there. So that's another option there as well. So the last thing I'll say about this is that we do have little Swarovski beads like this that have a nice little core to them. So these have a nice little rubber core as well. And if you're curious if those little end caps do come in larger sizes, Here you go. They are in silver, and that fits a nice little Venetian box chain. So just another little style there for the adjustable slider bracelets. So that's really fun, and I love doing that because I think you can actually add a lot of unique little charms and chain, you know.
Yeah, but it comes together so quickly and so clean looking.
Yeah, very nice.
Very nice.
Very nice little finished piece.
Yeah.
All right, so speaking of charms and chain,
Yeah,
what are you working on over there, Alexandra?
Well, I've got something very different going on over here. Speaking of the versatility of chain, so what I've got here is a charm bracelet, and I'm using the third hand tool to help me with that. So you can see I have a matte gold Rolo chain with the links going in opposite directions, and what this tool is helping me do is keep the links aligned so that I know which direction to put my jump ring on. And you can see that I've filled this design out with little links, little stars and little moons, and I'm going to show you where I got those, and it's actually from this charm chain. So as I continue to just finish up this design, I'm going to cut some charm chain apart and add the little pieces onto my bracelet. So let me just slip a couple off, and I'm going to take a little 4mm jump ring here, using some bent nose pliers, which are great for muscle fatigue and getting into tight places. I've been really finding good use for those, especially with this tool, because what it does is it frees me up to then use both hands to close up my jump rings right where I want them to be. Get out of my own way here, close that up. And so I would proceed just like that with each of my pieces, and I've got an exact idea of which charms go in which places using this tool and keeping track of my pattern. And so that's been very useful for me. And also this tool's been great for designing with bar chain. So just below here you can see that we have some designs using bar chain. We've got some scalloped bar chain here, some thicker style, some longer bar chain, and then this necklace too, which the chrome triangle necklace here. You can see that it would be sort of tricky to put this together if I had to keep putting it down and picking it up. And so this tool was super useful for clamping into place, and then I was able to configure those triangles along the right side of the chain and get them to stay put.
Yeah, because it's very easy to have chain like that doesn't hang right, and then you're like, oh, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
And, you know, so yeah, that third hand tool really is quite handy.
So it really has been. And bar chain is really fun to play with as like building blocks for coming up with different shapes. You can see down here, we've got a video on this, how to make a geometric pyramid using the links of bar chain to encapsulate a bead.
That's so neat.
Yeah, yeah. And then this same tool is very useful, and we have a full video on these earrings, the scalloped bar chain earrings. And I was, again, able to clamp those into place and use both hands to attach each of those links using some oval jump rings. And yeah, like this necklace over here, the pearl trine necklace, came together really nicely just by opening and closing the little jump rings that come with the chain. And what that does is it lets you put the chain together in ways that really feature the beads quite nicely. So
I like the bar chain. It sort of provides that little natural space, you know, so you're not, I mean, you know, when you are working with a Rolo chain like you're doing in your charm bracelet there, you know, you do get a chance to have an up and a down sort of link, but when you're using the bar chain, it's really nice to be able to perfectly space out, especially those beautiful Swarovski pearls.
yes.
So.
Yes. So let me just touch on a few other things on this side of the table. We've got so much to show you. Up here we have some really beautiful chains that are pretty much ready-made, and this takes so much work out of the equation but gives such a nice effect. So you'll see these seed bead chains. All I did to construct this necklace was clip the chains and attach everything using jump rings. And it looks so fancy, but it really was
It looks like you did all that work, all that wire wrapping.
Yeah, so Zola Elements puts a lot of really neat designs together with chain. There's these types of chain that have the faceted rondelles, and again, it comes together looking almost like semi-precious stones, but all that was involved was clipping lengths of chain and attaching it with jump rings. Same with this necklace, and it comes down in a really nice tassel. You can create some really neat tassel effects using this type of chain. So Zola Elements, again down here, this very intricate dangle chain gives such a nice pop of color. So
And what's on that other bust there that you have
up
at the
here,
top?
Kumihimo. Yes, this is quite a amazing use of chain, an 8-warp Kumihimo using delicate Rolo chain. And just look at how these spirals pop, especially with the black, but it's just such a lovely application.
Yeah, I bet you never thought you could do Kumihimo with chain.
Right.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely insane that we did that, but it's wonderful. And that we do have a video for as well, so if you guys are curious about that and how to finish it off, it's a great little neat wire wrapping trick to finish off all that chain. But the effect is so cool. I love that, because sometimes you'll want something that's really kind of chunky but looks like it's sort of woven and delicate.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of strikes that balance where it's like, no, it is, you got like definitely some weight here. It's definitely a statement necklace, but you have it woven and it's sort of twisted up just so, and it's very cool.
Yes,
so.
yes. Now, there are lots of ways to achieve that with chain, though. For instance, I'm just looking at this layered piece. And look at the striking effect you can get just by putting 3 very different types of chain together.
Absolutely.
It's gorgeous, gorgeous.
Well, and another great thing is that you can use one of these little sort of strand reducers to keep them all separated, so you don't have to use one big old jump ring in the back. You can just use that nice little strand reducer. And this is also a great opportunity to showcase the chain extender, because when you're looking at some of the chain that is in here, and let me kind of sort of turn around a little bit to the side there, it's that really fine Rolo chain that we've used a couple of times there, and then you have this nice pellet chain. But this is going to be a lot easier to get your jump ring through and to wear, so you're not fumbling around behind your neck or asking a friend to help you get dressed, which I've done a time or two. But that's sort of another nice little thing about having that chain extender, is you get that nice open chain where it's easy to just size it, and you can kind of, because you're doing it blind behind your neck. So that's something I always keep in mind of, is how hard is it going to be to get dressed in the morning?
And in particular, a style like this is one you'd want to be able to size according to what you're wearing.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
Chain extenders are great for making adjustable necklaces, bracelets.
Well, because, we have all kinds of necklines, so why not? You have to kind of feel where it's going to be on you.
Right.
So we have some lovely other kind of uses of chain. Oh, you know what? Let's talk about this one while we have a second, because this is very similar to the chain that I was just working with.
Right. So this is beading chain. And first look at this necklace, you wouldn't even think that it's a chain necklace. But in fact, it's a matte gold fine chain that can be directly beaded onto. And
it almost looks like a fiber.
It does.
Like a gold twisted fiber.
And so the way that it finishes off is with a crimp bead end, just like so. Instead of gluing, you would use a crimping tool. Again, with the extender chain, very handy. So when you first started your project, I thought, oh, is that beading chain? No, it's actually snake chain. They're very similar.
Yeah, so it's nice that we do have the crimps for that, and then the glue-ins for this. So you do get that option of how do I finish off some of these chains? Because I think, if it's not a cable chain or something like that, where you're like, oh, obviously I can use a jump ring,
Yeah.
And that's another opportunity for you also to think about, which jump ring am I using? Do I want to use something that's a little bit thicker because it's going to be part of the clasp? Or a great thing is, especially when you're doing a lot of the cable chain, think about using an oval jump ring. That way it'll kind of keep that silhouette going all the way through your design, so you don't kind of have this nice little slim and then this big like bloop at the back. Nothing wrong with that, but we do have oval jump rings, so that's a great opportunity to just kind of keep the sleekness of the design that you're working on. So we have, and these are really fun. I love these earrings here. This is a great way to kind of add, not necessarily scraps of chain per se, but this is a great way to add a little metal element here. So instead of having the whole thing be beaded, what you're doing is you're tying in what's happening up here with all that beautiful metal, and then you still have the seed beads, which ties in that little center line finding there, and that's a great design. I love
dagger earrings. Thank you. Yes, that was an adventure for sure.
But speaking of kind of a different way to use chain scraps, you have some great earrings over there. So let's talk about those for a second.
So these actually are made of stainless steel chain, in particular, 3 different styles and sizes. And what this could be great for is using up scraps of chain like Kat was talking about. You could mix metals. You don't even have to get the measurements exact. You just kind of go with the flow with these, and they're so versatile. I mean, you could really wear them with anything. So those came together really nicely. And then just next to those, this is some tubular peyote stitch that extends down into a tassel of chain that complements those metal beads in a really fun way. So these are just ideas for dangly, waterfall, tassel-style earrings. This is just such a lovely little design, so simple, and just a perfect use of chain for tassels, also for featuring connectors and beads, or for dangling in sort of that scalloped draping effect, which I think is just lovely and another great use for using up small pieces you may have.
Yeah, especially, we were talking earlier about, what happens when you get 2 feet of chain and you need 18 inches to make a necklace. Well, what do you do with the other 6 inches where it's like, well, maybe it's not long enough to make a bracelet, or it's not quite what I wanted, but it might be long enough to make a few little chain swags for, like, make it into something new, or, cut it up and you have then 6 individual inches to use on something and connect it. So there's a lot of different ways to think about it that way, as opposed to like, oh, well, I guess it's just scrap because it's only a couple inches of chain.
Right. Well, speaking of a couple inches, talk about the fishbone and the chevron chains here at the front of the table.
Okay, so down here, so this is a great example. So this is the chevron chain here, and that's that beautiful matte gold. Now these are probably maybe 1.25 inches, but let's say you did have just 1 inch left over, or 2, or heck, even you could use just one of those little guys. So if you have one left over, you can have that be a little connector. So that's the chevron chain. Over here is the fishbone chain, which is really cool. Again, just sort of that little extra scrap that you might have left over, or of course you can make these intentionally as well. These don't always have to be, your scrap earrings. But this is really a nice little fun design because you can play with the orientation of it. So here it's all facing down, but you could absolutely do those earrings where it's facing upwards as well. So another really fun thing to do with the fishbone chain, and this is the silver, the bright silver that we have here. So what we did is we used some vintage patina. Now this is great on metal, and this is that beautiful deep turquoise color. But all we did is we just sort of took a little tiny paintbrush and just painted the edges of that fishbone chain. So it kind of makes it look almost like an enameled chain, which I love.
Lovely, yeah.
And it wears really, really nicely. This is a project we did, oh gosh, maybe over a year ago now, and you can just see how brilliant that color still is. It doesn't fade, it doesn't really scratch. It's really, really wonderful. It's that nice permanent color from the vintage patina. And we have a ton of colors of patina, so there's no wrong way to do that one.
And another great use for chain in this necklace is using a smaller elongated cable chain to come up the back of the neck. If you don't want big bulky chain that's going to get caught in your hair and that kind of thing, something comfortable, something less expensive, just extend chain in the back.
Yeah, so you still have that really nice focal in the front, and then you can kind of have that nice delicate, again, that sort of also helps if you don't like to wear heavy jewelry, but kind of want a little bit of that look, you can do that as well, sort of just make a nice little focal there in the center.
Right.
So as we keep talking here, we have this chain here, which is really fun. So this is the original chain, so you can see that right here. And it's these cool little links, but they also have those little kind of ball links in there in the center. And what I wanted to do was, it was just looking a little dull for what I wanted. So what I did is I took these really cool mustard color Czech fire polish beads and sort of swapped them out for those little tiny beads in there. And then what was really great is, as I was doing my video, I realized that, you know what? Shoot, I just need a little extra length on both sides, but I didn't want to add a whole big link there with another bead. So I was able to bring those little guys back in there towards the back of my clasp. So just by breaking apart some of this link and charm chain, you can create really fun designs. And because you get like a whole foot of it, you can actually make lovely matching earrings. So this was an opportunity for me to just make a cute little pair of matching earrings there as well, because I just really love that mustard color of the bead. I thought that was really fun to bring in with that antique silver.
Very nice.
So here's a great example. So this is a finished chain actually, this gold one here. And if you look down here at the bottom, these are Swarovski channel charms. So all I did was I just cut the chain and just added in some jump rings and just added those in right there. So I didn't even have to worry about finishing the clasp or doing anything like that. So that was actually really, really nice and fun to do. Very quick project. If you need something in a pinch, it's wonderful. So here's a good example, and I hope this is showing up on camera for you, but this is just a little bit of wire wrapping. So you know we were talking a lot about that beaded chain there? Well, these three little bicones here are actually all wire wrapped onto each other. So if you've watched our previous class, you saw me do something very similar with gemstones, and I taught you how to make your own gemstone chain. Well, that can of course work with any other bead. It can work with seed beads, and here in this example we have bicone beads.
Now you've used a finished chain for that piece as well, right?
Yep, so this one you can do with that finished chain, so you can kind of start it here and then again use a little bit of that chain there at the bottom.
So what do you mean by finished chain, just for people who haven't bought one before?
Sure, so finished chain is just simply going to be a chain that is finished, meaning it has its back. You're going to have a nice little clasp, maybe some jump rings. Sometimes there will be a little clasp hook here at the back. So this is sort of the finished part. So we have bulk chain and unfinished chain, if you will. So you can get several feet of it, but your finished chain is going to come typically in 16, 18, 20, 24, and so on. You know, so this is going to be that nice little size for you. So of course, if you buy a 16, and you want to add a 4-inch focal to it, you're going to end up with a 20-inch necklace. But that way, it's sort of, you know, you don't have any extra chain that way. So that's one way to avoid extra chain if you did want to do that kind of example.
Right.
Now here's something kind of cool. We have a beaded chain here, and instead of using jump rings, we've used slide ends. Now these are the None slide ends. So when you have a beaded chain like that, you can actually open the side there. One side will come open, and you just slide those in there, and it doesn't move. There's no glue required or anything. So that's a really fun thing to do with
now
chain.
what's holding it? It's the little beads of the chain that are holding it in
Yep.
there? Okay.
Yep. So it's just a little tension that's happening there. So it's really, really fun. So you can do that in this design here. You can also do that with cup chain. So that's another thing as well. So I just have a little stainless steel chain here just to kind of showcase that. And then here's a little fun example. Let me kind of uncoil this for a moment. So what I did is I put chain in here, and I wanted to make my own beaded chain. And on this side, just to give it a little balance, I put these Swarovski pearls. This is that beautiful Tahitian look pearl. So these are just little Swarovski pearl beads that I made little eye pins and simple wire loops and created my own beaded chain. So you can do this as a full necklace, or, you know, as I did here in my design, I did it as half. So that's a fun little option, you know, if you want to kind of bring that color up, because I didn't want it to all be weighted down there at the bottom. So I kind of created one of those asymmetrical designs right there.
Nice.
So here's another cool chain that I love to work with, and this is cup chain. So if you look at my example here, I've actually combined the bar chain and the cup chain, because you'll see that that little tiny bar chain actually is the perfect little spacers for that cup chain. Really, really neat. And you're always probably wondering, how do you attach cup chain? Well, we have these great little ends, and I want to do a quick little demo for you today to show you how this works. So let me bring your attention over here. So I've actually done one side here, so if I can bring you over here. So these are really cool. So these are the little cup chain ends. So you see how they have a little closed loop on top, and then if I kind of flip it to the side, they have these little sort of flags on the side there that you can fold over, just like so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do this side over here. Let me bring that into the camera. There we go. And it's really super simple. So you just take that last little link that you want in there, and you just sort of place it inside. And you can see that we have different sizes, of course, of these to accommodate the different sizes of cup chain. But then as you turn it to the side there, you'll just, you just take a pair of chain nose pliers. You can also use a popsicle stick for this as well. You've seen that. We use that a lot with our crystals. But you'll just sort of bend one side in, just ever so slightly. And let me just rotate that. And bend the other side in. Let's go from this angle.
So no glue required.
No glue required. And then your cup chain is nice and in there.
And that's called a cup chain end?
Cup chain end.
Perfect.
So yeah, so again, you can see that we have those in several different finishes and several different sizes. But that's a great way. You can just kind of create a very simple little tennis bracelet just by adding a couple little ends, just like so. And then you'll be able to have a nice little glittery bracelet, very, very simple, with some cup chain.
It looks so expensive.
Yeah, I know, I like it. Well, while you're over here, let me just remind you, if you're just joining us, we do have our giveaway here today. So it is going to feature some of that beautiful cup chain in a beautiful pink. We also have some of that scalloped bar chain that we were talking about. We have our beaded chain here. So these are the seed beads, and these are both Zola elements, and I love them. They are so wonderful and so colorful. So we have that there for you as well. We also have some matte gold bubble chain, which is really fun to use. And then we have our designer assortment of our 3 silver chains. So you're going to get 3 feet of each of these. We have some of that charm chain here, which is our little skull charm chain, because, you know, 'tis the season. And then we are giving you a beautiful assortment of all different kind of colors and styles of the chain extenders for you to use in your projects. Now, this is something that you can always add to a project that you've already created. And let's say, you know, I wish it was a little bit longer. Or, you know, let's say you're selling jewelry. These are great to have on hand where someone's like, oh, you know, I just wish it was maybe an extra 2 inches. It doesn't feel comfortable for me. And you go, wait just a second, let me add a jump ring and a chain extender there for you.
Yeah, not even chain jewelry, just any jewelry.
Yes, absolutely.
Now I noticed one of these actually has a clasp attached as well. So
yes.
That's a nice addition.
Yeah, so some do have the clasp and some just have the little dangle. You can also just remove one of these little dangles and maybe add a crystal if you wanted to, something kind of fancy there to tie in your design. Anything, you know, no, all bets are off, so you can do whatever you want back there, really.
And just to clarify, what you would do is open up this jump ring at the base of the clasp, remove the clasp, and then hook that onto the opposite side of your necklace. And that clasp hooks onto that extension chain.
So, and the other last little part of this giveaway is we have our Beadaholique bead mat. Now, this is a really beautiful mat, and you've seen us work with this before, so I don't have to show it to you in plastic. I just want to keep it nice and pretty for our giveaway winner, hopefully. And so this is that bead mat here, so you can just really see it's a nice bead mat. It's got that anti-slip on the back, and these are available for sale at beadaholique.com. It's got that nice little guide up at the top and our little ruler there at the bottom, which, you know, is a full foot ruler, which really helps with, you know, doing that foot of chain work. So yeah, so that is sort of some cup chain ideas. And Alexandra, you actually have a really neat little tip that I'm excited to tell people
about. One of my favorite things to do actually is find open chains that have links that have splits in them. So for instance, let me find the opening on this one. I would grip on one side and the other, open the link up, and you can use these as jump rings. And so particularly Nun Design makes a lot of open chains that work that way. So each of these has open links, and you can open and close to attach your clasps, charms, whatever it is that you're adding, rather than having to use separate jump rings. It's a very handy little tip.
I like that, yeah, especially because some of the chain is really neat. We have some cool chain here. Now this is some really like thick, heavy-duty chain, but what's great is even this big chain here, these are open links, so you can use these in your designs, which I think is really neat. So if you buy a foot of the chain, you can absolutely use it as chain, but think about it this way, you could be getting all those really cool, like flattened style jump rings there, and just really, really neat. So we have some other kind of styles of chain. We've talked a lot about gemstone chain in previous classes, but this is a great opportunity to show you again. This one comes with those little pellets there that you can sort of break apart or use as a focal or use as a base. All kinds of fun chain. I love this. This is so spiky. This is our little, these are little like kind of flags or pennants. This is a little triangle chain. And we have some more chain here. This is, again, Zola Elements. I just love that little pink color. Again, perfect to break apart. And then here's, again, as you saw earlier, that kind of style of that seed bead chain. So lots of fun things happening. You know, there's all kinds of different charm chain, and you know, it's really interesting to look at a chain like this. So this is these beautiful oak leaves. And what I love is how it lays when it's like this, and then it's totally a different chain when you turn it on its side there. You know, so you can kind of think about it in that way as well, like, oh, look at it, how it like cascades very nicely. That might be great for like a pair of earrings or something. But then you have it as a little necklace, and it's totally different.
Beautiful. You can thin it out if you want to have not so many leaves. Do whatever you want with all of those little components.
Yeah, that's a good tip too. You can always thin out some of the charm chain if it's like, oh, it's just a little too thick, or it's not quite what I wanted for my design. You know, take a few of these little babies out and, you know, put those in a different design. because it's on every other, it's on every little link here on every other side, so you can really play around with how that sits on there.
It's also nice that we sell a lot of the charm chain by the inch, so you really don't have to buy very much. A little goes a long way with that.
Absolutely. So you can just buy 1 or 2 inches if you're just looking to use the charms for something, so that's another thing to keep in mind. Often our gemstone chain is sold the same way, so you can just buy the exact inches because you know, gemstone chain can be pricey.
To make earrings like this, again, a little goes a long way.
Perfect.
You just don't need very much to have some really lovely earrings.
Yeah, and this is the crescent chain. I think this is really, really fun. I actually did a video with this because they open and close almost like little duckbills, so you don't have to cut them apart. So always keep that in mind, you know, and it was reminding me while you were talking about your jump ring there, is that some of the chain is easier if you can just pry it open just very much with, you know, with a couple of tools like you would a jump ring. So you don't actually have to waste any links by trying to cut it. So keep that in mind too. Before you cut, go ahead and check and see if that is an open link, or see if you can kind of separate it enough to slip in a head pin, an eye pin, whatever you get. So yeah.
Wow.
So let's see. Any questions you guys have about any of this stuff, feel free to continue to ask us. We will continue to monitor this feed. But get your last comments in the last 10 seconds here, and then we are going to come up with our giveaway winner.
One last design I wanted to point out, which I thought came together so nicely using a technique we have in a video. I think it's called your lime spritz necklace that you did. But this is another way of using chain in between beads, and just by stringing cord, in this case it's actually leather cord under there, with some wooden beads, it gives that lovely ruffled effect, which actually I think looks a little androgynous, could be great for guys or girls. So I really liked that. And then this huge one down here is a real statement piece that was so much fun to put together using some very big chain. And
yeah, go ahead and flip that over.
You can do lots of things with lots of different sizes. This used some faux suede to weave that together. We have a video on that, the black bullion bracelet.
I love adding in a textile to it. I think that's really neat. It really changes the design because then it feels more like a textile bracelet with a little bit of a metal element as opposed to a chain bracelet. So I think that's very neat. So I like that style. Yeah, so we hope you have gotten some great inspirations from just all kinds of different chain. And be sure to shop at Beadaholique.com. We have an amazing selection of chains, so you will be gladly overwhelmed, I hope. All right, so are we ready to announce our giveaway winner? Wonderful. Congratulations, Pammy Jones. You are our winner today. So Pammy, all you need to do is just let us know where we can send your giveaway. You can send an email to service@beadaholique.com. Again, that's service@beadaholique.com. Let us know where we can send your beautiful giveaway, and congratulations. So thank you so much, you guys, for joining us today. This has been really, really fun. And again, keep those comments coming. We're still going to be checking through to answer any last questions. And be sure to shop our entire chain collection. And we also have a product collection. So if you're curious about any of the projects that you've seen here today, those will be listed there in one easy place for you. All right, so thank you so much, you guys, and we will see you back here next time for our very next live class. Bye.